Mali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today. Nubian Queen, how images of this woman leading protests in Sudan have gone viral, piling pressure on the regime of President Bashir. Rwanda remembers, we meet a survivor of the genocide. The Brazilian president plans to take indigenous lands from indigenous people. And it's cherry blossom season over in Japan. And at the top of our newsfeed, the Sudan uprising. It's getting stronger by the moment as people try and remove President Omar al-Bashir. And in the age of social media, these movements often need an iconic image, something that encapsulates the moment and inspires people to rally to the cause. And the Sudan uprising has found its, the Nubian Queen.
This 22-year-old Sudanese woman has become a symbol of Sudan's ongoing anti-government protests. She's been dubbed a Nubian Queen or Kandaka, a name associated with queens of the ancient African kingdom of Kush. Protesters have been calling for President Omar al-Bashir to step down since December. He came to power in a military coup in 1989 and has been accused of human rights abuses and political corruption. Government officials say at least 38 people have died in the protests, but Human Rights Watch says the number is far higher. Thousands of people have been staging a sit-in outside army headquarters in Khartoum since Saturday, calling for the military to support them. And the swell of support both on the streets and online is something President Bashir has not faced before. This image of engineering and architecture student Ala Soleh appeared online on Tuesday. It's been shared hundreds of thousands of times, and her style has caught many people's attention. Now it's part of the country's social and religious custom for Sudanese women to be covered in swathes of colourful garments. But the colour white signifies the history of Sudanese women and their role in the country's erratic political history.
Her entire outfit is also a callback to the clothing worn by our mothers and grandmothers in the 60s, 70s and 80s, who dressed like this while they marched the streets, demonstrating against previous military dictatorships.
وافتكر انه في حاله بتاعت قهر وتمييز ممنهج حاصل للنساء السودانيات من 89 لحد الليله، وفي دعم مكتسبات كثيره جدا اكتسبتها النساء عبر الحركه النسويه وتاريخها الطويل جدا. ففي رده حاصله وفي يعني بنخسر في كل اللي اكتسبناه. فيما يخص القوانين انا بفتكر انه اللي بيحصل ده هو جزء من الايديولوجي او جزء من الايديولوجيا اللي بتحكمنا هسه، ايديولوجيا الاسلام السياسي اللي هي يعني مرتكزه على مساله التمييز بين الرجال والنساء.
Rights groups say women are at the forefront of the campaign to oust Bashir, and they've often taken to the streets in greater numbers than men. So, by stepping out, could women like Alair be ushering in a new era in Sudan?
Okay, let's take a look at some of the other things that have caught our eye on social media. Now, there is a public health emergency in New York as the city tries to deal with a worsening measles outbreak. Mayor Bill de Blasio has made vaccinations compulsory in some parts of Brooklyn. People there can be fined if they don't get their children immunized. Now, the community targeted are ultra-Orthodox Jewish people, some of whom refuse to listen to medical experts and believe lies about vaccines causing autism and that vaccines contain monkey, rat and pig DNA. And interestingly, the vaccine hesitancy of this community is not based on myths being spread online because, as the New York Times points out, many in the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community shun technology and have little access to the internet.
You have to follow what the doctors are saying. You have to keep your children and community safe. Please go and vaccinate yourself.
Now, Netflix has announced the actress who will portray Lady Diana Spencer in the 4th season of The Crown. She's called Emma Corrin, and judging by most of the twittering about her, fans of the show are pleased with the casting choice. The new season begins later this year, and FYI, season 3 will begin in a few months, and we'll have Olivia Colman playing the Queen, which is reason enough for me to begin watching. And K-pop supergroup Blackpink have broken a record with this record called Kill This Love. Its music video reached 100 million views on YouTube faster than any other music video in history. They took the title from Gangnam Style and will probably hold it until BTS release their next one. Now, it's 25 years since the Rwandan genocide, and the world must never forget what happened in those 100 days. TRT World spoke to someone who survived the slaughter.
My name is Naihiki Asman. I'm Rwandan. I'm a survivor of genocide against the Tutsi. I remember it was in the morning, like 8, 9. On 7 April, I was sitting with my grandmother, and she told me, I'm gonna tell you something. She said, this is my last time sitting with you. And I'm saying, why? Because we're gonna die. Since 1959, most of Tutsi was refugee in different places, like a church. They never been attacked in the church place. That is, most of Tutsi knows if they went that place, they are saved. But that time in 1994, it's different. I came here many times. I don't know how I'm feeling. It's like that day. I remember there is a hole here. Ah, yeah, that's it. That's it. That's it because grenade. They are dropping grenade from here. I was standing down there. They are dropping different grenade. Boom, boom, boom. Everywhere it was like that. Here it was a full combat of people. We need to be reconciliated for the future. For me, the signification which I can feel is the better to the future of my family, to the future of Rwanda. I hope so with success.
Now, the indigenous people of Brazil have had their land taken from them for centuries, and Brazil's current leadership seem intent on making sure the destruction of tribal territory continues. The Raposa Serra do Sol Reserve in northern Brazil is home to 25,000 indigenous people. But that could change if the country's president, Jair Bolsonaro, gets his way.
Brazil does not owe the world anything when it comes to environmental protection.
He wants to transform the land and use it to make money. Mining companies also have their sights on what's beneath: gold, diamonds, and copper. They also think there's niobium, a versatile, valuable metal used to strengthen steel. Bolsonaro's plans face opposition, though.
For the new president, Jair Bolsonaro, respect our rights. Our land was already demarcated, consolidated and registered. It took over 30 years. I want to ask the government to respect the indigenous people and respect the constitutional rights.
Brazil's constitution doesn't allow for commercial farming and mining on indigenous reserves without congressional approval. But Bolsonaro wants that to change. After his inauguration in January, he issued an executive order which made the Ministry of Agriculture responsible for decisions about lands claimed by indigenous tribes. The move could allow Bolsonaro's ministers to deny any new land claims by indigenous groups and open up their land to commercial mining and farming.
To the people in Roraima State, I'm Jair Bolsonaro. In 2019, we're going to rip up the Raposa Serra del Sol Reserve. We're going to give all ranchers guns.
Brazil is home to nearly 1 million indigenous people, and most live on reserves which are 13% of the nation's land. Their territory has been a source of conflict for centuries. First, they were driven from their land by European invaders. Now, what little land they have left is being carved up by rapacious developers, supported by a far-right president. All right, a spin around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Wednesday. The United States say the elite Iranian Revolutionary Guard are terrorists, so politicians in Iran who are not members of the Guard wore its uniform in parliament in protest. The decision by the US to prescribe the Revolutionary Guard as terrorists was celebrated by Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel as part of his election campaign. Poor children at some Italian schools are being given rationed meals because their parents are unable to pay for lunch. Now, when news of one child being given tinned tuna and crackers went viral, a footballer for Inter Milan called Antonio Candreva stepped in to pay the fees so the little girl, whose family emigrated to Italy, would get a proper lunch. Now, the story has become very political. The mayor of the town where this happened said the decision to give the child rations was a matter of principle. He's a member of the country's ruling La Liga party who have called for immigrants to leave Italy. And last up, let's go to Japan now and look at some beautiful pictures from cherry blossom season. And this year's Hanami is more popular than ever. lovely, and we think it's pronounced Hanami, just to correct myself. Well, that's all from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Follow, subscribe, and add. See you again tomorrow.